The idea of how to make Europe a safer and more resilient place comes from Finland. Is Europe going to make use of it? I'm meeting the author of Safer Together report now, former Finnish president for more than a decade, as a matter of fact, previously also Minister of Justice, Minister of Finance, Speaker of the Parliament, and a highly respected figure in Finnish politics. Sauli Niinistö is joining me. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so very much. It's a great pleasure.
President Niinistö, the year 2024, just in a few days, is coming to an end. Has it changed the world for better or for worse, in your opinion?
Well, I would say that we have a puzzle. During this year, we got better known which kind of pieces we have, but not the puzzle solved.
We don't know how to put the pieces together.
It's most important to know the pieces, and now we are trying to put them
But your political
together.
instinct, what does it tell you? Has it gone better or worse?
I think it's always better if you recognize that things are worse.
And you have tried to do it.
Yes.
In the report. Perhaps that's a part of the answer to this first question. Your mission that you recently concluded, as a matter of fact, you were asked by EU President Ursula von der Leyen to prepare a report on how Europe is ready for war, also in terms of civil defense. Are we?
My task was also civil protection, because there are a lot of different kind of challenges, from terrorism to climate change, pandemic to maybe war.
Yeah, very comprehensive.
So that was my mission. First of all, I would say that, in my opinion, most important is mindset of ordinary people, because that happens what ordinary people want to happen in democracies. And recognizing that we have threats, and recognizing that security is a common good, but that needs also common responsibility.
When I look at your report and I read a lot of things that are included in it, probably this mindset factor is the most difficult to achieve when it comes to European citizens. Not very many people, especially far away from Russia, realize the threat, and that's what the mindset is all about, isn't it?
That is the mindset. But what we see now is more and more hybrid attacks around Europe. And it's very obvious that Russia has already escalated the war, not by conventional arms against Europe, but by hybrid. And I expect we will face worse on that. We have to understand that if one of us has a huge challenge, independent where it comes from, is it a war or climate change? So we have to stand together to understand that chaos in one country means chaos in whole union. That's why I took, started to talk about single security, which is absolutely as important as single market.
Well, the picture illustrating this report, I've got it here on the table, is this very symbolic grip of four hands, sort of in unity, as it suggests.
Yes.
Do you think it is the picture of Europe as it is now?
It should be.
But
my question actually is that in NATO, members of NATO, they say that we will defend every inch of NATO's territory. When we learn to say in European Union that we will grant security for every centimeter of European Union territory, that's the mindset. And hope we hold our hands together.
But this picture is your hope, or is it a part of the reality that's actually coming true? That is my question, President.
It's my hope that it will be reality.
So that's something we're waiting for rather than something that we're observing at the moment.
We should be better in that. Like I said, we should also learn to say that we grant security in every centimeter of European Union territory.
Right. That's another quote from your report. The need for better preparedness forces us to consider our mindset and even our values.
Yes.
My question to you is, what values do you believe should be considered or changed among Europeans that we believed in previously?
This is more like a warning, because what I see is in hybrid attacks is that someday some country might be put in a position where they have to think whether they restrict individual rights of their own citizens to protect themselves. This is what we actually faced in our border. There was so-called legal demand for people coming. They have a right to asylum.
Yes,
but
immigration.
Yes, but the Finnish government saw that that would create a common threat for security.
The Polish Prime Minister even suspended at least restricted the right of asylum in Poland.
Yes, but this is what I mean with our values. Do we consider that security is foundation of everything? That there are no values if we don't have security. And this makes security a value in itself. And we have to learn to put
a
balance between security and different kind of individual rights.
Sure.
And the problem is that...
so we need some kind of restriction of individual rights, if I understand correctly.
No, but if we see that somebody with malicious mind misuses these rights, you know, an individual has a lot of room and right,
sure,
but it's also misused.
You're talking
Those
about weaponizing immigrants.
Are using it to have free hands to attack. So that's where we have to be able to balance our values.
Yes. So immigration is one of the values that we need to reconsider.
Yes, it's one of the examples we have faced, but I'm afraid we will face
more.
Other kind.
What about human rights? That's a very similar topic.
That is a topic. Actually, I would like to have a discussion that specialists, scientists in jurisdiction would more think about what is the balance in between common security and individual rights. Are we ready to, let's say, forget common security by raising the individual rights, or do we have to find balances if we are attacked?
Right.
So that's the question.
So in a way, as a consequence, Europe will be closing itself, will it not, as a result of this shift of values and the pursuit of security?
Not necessarily closing itself, but granting security to its citizens, because security is foundation of everything.
Right. There's another term in your report that I find really difficult to achieve, and that's this. A change's mindset is needed to build the trust that allows us to do this as a whole society. That's a difficult thing because, you know, trust can't be commissioned.
No.
It comes by itself.
Yes.
And whatever we do at the moment, things that used to bind us, trade, energy, even information, now is really dividing us. We're losing trust rather than gaining trust. Look at what's happening in Romania. Presidential elections, pro-Russian candidate almost won the election, and he sort of, it's out of the blue candidate. We are losing trust. How to build it back? How to get it back, in your opinion?
A common threat might raise common trust. And what I specifically mean by this is that what we see that the interest of public sector and private sector is getting very similar in protecting against hybrid attacks. So we have to have trust in this relation. And I noticed, for example, in Finland, that they have a lot of unofficial cooperation, where public sector, private sector, even competitors inside private sector do share their experiences and thoughts how and information how to protect.
It seems that, by the way, it seems that the Europe that is politically shaken really all over the place. Look at Germany, look at France. It seems that the Nordic countries are really like a beacon of stability. Maybe you should export some of this stability and communication to the rest of Europe.
Well, at the moment, yes, we have elections coming in Germany. In France, we have a new government, and let's see how it's doing. But I do believe that people take very seriously, and governments take very seriously, politicians take very seriously the threat of security. And that maybe overcomes all the, well, let's say, domestic quarrels.
Are you worried about what's happening in Europe politically? We're almost losing two, major engines with France and Germany being in political instability.
Let's see. Like I said, however, the situation is such that all the pieces of the puzzle, we know them now. And let's see whether we are capable of putting them in places.
But that's the problem, President. It's important that we know the pieces, but there are so many disagreements about how to put the pieces and how to use the individual pieces together. That's the problem. That's the conflict. Yes,
but it's a gain in itself that we know the pieces. It would be even more disastrous if you don't know the pieces which you have to put in place.
We do not have a clear plan on what the EU will do in the event of an armed aggression against a member state. What do you think we should do?
Well, first of all, now we go to concrete issues. And the major concrete issue is that in Europe we lack both armament and troops. And that's not a very good situation.
And Russia is ramping up the military production.
Yes, and if we recall Putin saying some 10 years ago in Valdai, that he said that the Western people are weak, and thus the West is weak. So we have to show that we are not weak. We are strong, and strong not to wage war, but to maintain peace.
But are we weak or are we strong? I mean, okay, we have to show that we are strong.
Yes.
But we are, in fact, we are really weak, I believe, at this stage. This is not me saying that, it's the Defense Secretary of the European Union saying that.
Like I said, we lack armament and troops, and we have to do better in that. And I'm sure that, for example, armament, yes, we have to surely, the double members, which I mean members both in NATO and EU, have to fulfill surely the agreement of NATO with that 2%. But we have also to consider a bit what we have got with that 2%. So be more efficient, maybe having joint procurements more. That means possibilities of getting more with same money, and maybe like Secretary General Rutte has proposed, increase the amount of budget defenses.
We're going for almost 5% in Poland, as a matter of fact. So we know a lot about it. But in an interview with the Washington Post in 2022, you spoke about Finnish, let me quote it, wisdom on experiences in dealing with Moscow. So based on that experience, I'd like to ask you, you said the risk of Russian aggression beyond Ukraine cannot be excluded. But in your opinion, you called in some places a Putins Whisperer. In your opinion, how likely is it that he's already taken that decision to invade a NATO country or a EU member state, just waiting for the right moment to strike?
Like I said, at the moment I think that, for example, his threats with nuclear arms, that's maskirovka. What happens is on hybrid all the time.
Like cutting your cables undersea?
We don't. We haven't attributed that because it's very difficult. But everything what happens in hybrid, cyber attacks, it's very difficult to say who did it. But like I said, the escalation has already started. And it comes with hybrid against other Europeans than Ukraine.
But President, you have more experience with the Russians and their provocations, whether they're hybrid or not, for many, many years. Yep. How are you dealing with these threats?
Well, I have always often referred to old Finnish wisdom. That dates back to centuries. And that is just simply a Kazakh takes everything which is loose. Kazakh meant a Russian soldier. So this has been, in my opinion, the tradition of Finnish society. It's a memory place in our backbone.
You feel it, you've got it in your blood.
Well, yes, immediately, even during the good years, immediately if Russia tried to come, let's say, too close or have some ideas about which we thought that, now they are trying, whether we are loose or not, you have to be straight.
You're calling for other European countries to introduce programs that bring civilians into national defense. For Finnish people, it's actually quite natural, isn't it?
Yes.
But it isn't so in the rest of Europe. How would you convince the rest of Europe, especially in terms of civilians, as you said, to get involved in that?
We have conscription. And I have always said that conscription is not important only because you learn to shoot, but for social cohesion and the memory and the tradition and the, mindset of people.
Should we introduce obligatory conscription in the rest of Europe?
Well, that seems to be a terrible word for most Europeans. But I emphasize that every form of participation to security, like civil service, even that is important. And I know, for example, Polish voluntary example, we have in Baltic countries, in Sweden, and even outside EU in UK, they still are planning some kind of service for the kingdom.
That's going to be a challenge, really. Word conscription really sounds terrible in the rest of Europe.
Yes, but maybe civil service or something like that might be different.
Right. President Niinistö, with so many problems and challenges that your country, you yourself and your compatriots face, how come that you are the happiest society in the world for the 7th time running? I mean, may I ask you, or may I commission you to give us a very short and brief report on how to do it on this program?
Now you put me a very difficult question. I would say that maybe one part of that is that Finns are quite modest. And if you don't demand too much from life and your environment, maybe you're more satisfied.
Expect less. So. Oh, well, that's maybe sauna has something to do with it, some people say.
Probably too, yes.
All right, thank you very much, President.
Thank you.
President Niinistö, and thanks for joining us on GDP World.
Thank you.